Brave Little Mouse by Rose Rosenbluth. Illustrated by Deborah Bogo. Mabel Mouse and her family lived in a cozy hole in the kitchen of Mr. and Mrs. Clampton. Every night, at 10 o'clock, after Mr. and Mrs. Clampton went to bed, Mabel Mouse, her father, her mother, and her brother Morton scampered out of the hole to have their dinner. Mr. and Mrs. Clampton loved cheese almost as much as the mice did, so there were usually several different kinds from which to choose. Mabel's father was especially fond of Swiss, and she loved to watch him pat his fat little belly happily after every few bites. When they finished eating, the mice went back into their hole. Mabel's mother knitted sweaters for them to wear in the winter with pieces of yarn from Mrs. Clampton's knitting basket. Mabel played chess with her father, and Morton practiced his singing. The evening would end with a lullaby by Morton, who had a lovely voice and soon put them all to sleep. It was a fine life. One evening, at 10 o'clock, when the family was preparing to leave for their evening meal, Mabel peeked out of the hole and gave a loud squeak. There, a cat was sitting in front of the mouse hole. He was big with orange stripes, sharp claws, and bright yellow eyes. Just then, Mrs. Clampton plunked down a bowl and a little box and said, "Now, Tiger, you come from a farm where you were very good at catching mice. I want you to get rid of every mouse in this house. We're tired of them eating our cheese." "Oh, dear," whispered Mabel's mother. "He has to go to sleep sometime," said Mabel's father, looking at his pocket watch. An hour went by, then two, but Tiger was wide awake. At 1 o'clock in the morning he ate all the food in his bowl, but kept one eye on the hole. By this time the mice were very hungry indeed. Finally Tiger yawned and closed one eye. "There," said Mabel's father, "he is going to sleep." But Tiger's other eye stayed open. For 2 whole days and nights the mice stayed in their hole. They were growing thinner by the hour. Suddenly, Morton had an idea. "I will sing him a lullaby," he squeaked weakly. "That always puts us to sleep." Morton sat near the opening to the mouse hole and sang softly to the cat. Tiger only blinked once or twice at the sound, but he did not close his eyes. "I have an idea," said father on the 3rd day. "I will hypnotize him." He swung his pocket watch back and forth, in front of the hole. Tiger moved his head back and forth, but he did not close his eyes. Mabel was very worried about her family, especially her father. His little round belly was now flat as a pancake, and he sat in a corner and mumbled, "Swiss cheese," over and over. "Doesn't that cat play or do anything else?" asked Morton. Suddenly, Mabel had an idea. "Mother," she said, "start trapping me in your ball of yarn. I am going out there and get rid of that cat." "I will not let you go out there," Mabel's mother squeaked weakly. "Listen," said Mabel. "I am the smallest, so I can hide best in the yarn. If we do not get rid of that cat soon, we will all die." "What are you going to do?" asked her father. But Mabel would not tell him. "Just watch and see," she said, smiling. Mabel's mother started wrapping her in the yarn. Round and round, round and round, until you could not see Mabel at all. By this time the ball of yarn was quite big, and they had to push very hard to get it through the hole. "Wish me luck," whispered Mabel, as she rolled out into the room. Tiger stared at the ball of yarn and stuck out his paw hesitantly. The ball started rolling, slowly at first, then faster and faster. Tiger got up and watched. Around the kitchen chair it went, and over went the chair with bang. Then Tiger began to chase the ball. Around Mrs. Clampton's yarn basket it wound, and over went the basket. Into the pot of ivy it rumbled, and over went Mrs. Clampton's favorite plant. Tiger ran after the rolling ball, but his paws got tangled in the yarn and he could not get it off. The more he pulled at it, the more things got knocked over. And still the ball of yarn unwound and unwound until there was almost nothing left of it. All of a sudden, Tiger saw Mabel. He leapt into the air and lunged for the little mouse. But his paw knocked Mrs. Clampton's cookbook off the shelf, and it hit him on the head. Mabel raced into the mouse hole and jumped into her father's arms. "Now, just watch," she said. Suddenly, the lights in the kitchen went on, and Mrs. Clampton saw the terrible mess. Tiger was lying on the rug tangled in yarn and meowing pitifully. "Just look at this room," Mrs. Clampton yelled at Tiger. "How did you get into my yarn? You call yourself a mouser? Back to the farm you go tomorrow. We are better off with the mice. At least they don't make this kind of a mess." The next day Tiger was gone and the mice went back to their fine life. "It is good to have Swiss cheese again," said Mabel's father, and he patted his belly. "We owe it all to you. Mabel, you are a brave little mouse." And the whole family nibbled and agreed. The end. Thanks for watching and please subscribe my channel.